The Oklahoma Marriage Initiative has partnered with the Oklahoma Publishing Company to select the 13 most inspiring couples in the state, as nominated by children, parents, employers, students, and others who have been touched by these special lives. Our 13 couples have lived out their wedding vows and their commitment to each other, despite some of the most difficult challenges families can face. Our inspiring couples have supported each other through unspeakable heartache, such as the death of children, sudden cancer, and substance abuse and other addictions. They have encouraged each other to be successful at home and at work, and have joined together to care for ailing parents and in-laws, and through raising children, stepchildren, grandchildren, and foster children. Through their challenges and accomplishments, they have learned the secrets to creating and maintaining strong, stable, healthy, enjoyable, lifelong marriages.
We spent more hours at coffee shops, drinking coffee and just talking. We talk about from A to Z. After all that coffee, we were best friends. We were just... So it was easy to fall in love with him because he became my friend first.
The key to a successful marriage is communication. Talk. Nobody can read your mind. You might think they can, but they can't. Whenever I have to introduce her, I introduce her as my wife, my lover, and my friend.
And I'm all three of those, and don't you forget it. One thing that keeps the spark going for us, and it was even before I retired, he would always get up and make the coffee. And then he'd come back and gently say to me, "Sugar, it's time to get up." So then I get up, we'll go in the kitchen, we'll have coffee, and when he was talking about, we talk about things, we would discuss just, you name it, and I mean, we had to get up, I had to get up a lot earlier, just get up in an hour and then you're going out the door. So we gave ourselves about 45 minutes where we just drank coffee and would chat. And even though he's retired, we still do that. So I look forward to that every morning, that I know that he's gonna say, "Sugar, it's time to get up and smell that coffee."
I expected someone who would be my partner, but would also let me be me. And that's what I think was unique about when I first met him, is he didn't seem to be put off by the fact that I was intelligent and I liked math and science and that sort of thing, which could be a problem back then.
We get along really well together, and we do kind of mesh as far as filling in the gaps of whatever I can't do, she does, and whatever she can't do, I do.
I always say the main thing is to respect each other. One of the greatest things is respect.
And he'd always tell me, "You look so pretty." He always complimented me, even now. And I'll probably put on a sweater and a pantsuit or something, and he'll say, "Vieja, you look very pretty." Or I'll tell him, "Viejo, look how pretty that girl is on TV, the one I tell you that wears a coat like that. Look how pretty she looked." Jesse said, "You're prettier." He tells me this all the time.
It's not about winning with each of us too. I think that that's a big part of it too, is when you realize that the goal is to get your point across or to understand what you're talking about. It's not about winning. If what it was about was, "I'm going to win this argument no matter what," then it gets ugly. That's when you start calling each other names. Or then you're just winning at any cost no matter what. If the goal is, let's try to figure out what we're doing here, that's when you communicate. I was always able to see Matt and I as this little old lady and little old man. This little 90-year-old couple walking together, throwing breadcrumbs to the ducks, sitting on a park bench next to each other, just this little old couple, that cute little couple that you see at the park. I could just see that. I could visualize that. I knew that was going to be us. When things are bugging you, when he's being overly positive that day and I'm crabby, because I tend to be crabby and he tends to be overly positive, or whatever it is that's stressing you out, I just try to think, well, I still care about that when we're sitting on that park bench, And if not, then let it go. But if I will be, then it's worth talking through. Then it's worth pursuing.
Patience. A whole lot of patience. You gotta have love. If you don't know love, you can forget it from the get-go. So you got to have patience with love.
Together, we did a lot together because we went on picnics, we went fishing, we would pack up the boat, and they loved the boat, and so they loved to fish. We had once a week, we'd have family meetings, and they loved that. They would tell us we could talk about anything.
A person has to be a friend before they can even begin to think of a life together. I think it's because there's certainly the physical love and attraction that you have, that passionate love that you have, but that has to be tempered with respect, with admiration, with recognizing the integrity of the individual.
You've got to talk, to let the other person know what you're thinking.
We talk about
everything.
Everything.
There's nothing we don't talk about. And that's a plus. If a husband and a wife has, well, anybody, but especially their mate, if they can talk to their mate without fear of anger or jealousy or whatever, or blame or anything, then that's better than a psychiatrist, and you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Something I always try to do is when I'm watching football or TV or something, if she starts talking, I either mute it or turn it off and listen to her. And if, to me that just makes sense. If they're trying to talk to you, have enough consideration to listen to them. Give them your attention. Don't be so selfish as to shut them out and watch your football.
I think that's important too, is talking, and not just sitting there and brewing and stewing over it and blaming the other one. You've got to talk it out and find out why they were feeling and doing the things they were doing, and you too. But I think the communication has to be there, because if there's no communication, you're not going to be able to work through anything.
Well, number one, I guess, is because we love each other. That helps an awful lot. But we try not to actually go to sleep at night without taking care of anything that's come up during the day. Don't go to bed mad.
We've had some hard times. I mean, there's times I've been mad at him and he's been mad at me, but we just worked through them, and I think we're stronger for having done that.
Hey, we've been married for 56 wonderful years.
56.
You remember that year?
Her talking and me listening just works well in our relationship.
When I'm with other women, I never cut my husband down. No matter what we're going through, I hope everybody can say they've never heard me say an unkind thing about Bob. The more I lift him up, the more that I hear myself say what a wonderful guy is, and focus, because he is a wonderful guy, but focus on his strengths instead of his weaknesses. I get to really seeing him that way and believing him to be that way and knowing that he is that way.
People are different. You're gonna have differences, and accept those differences. Be tolerant of those differences. Don't try to make the person to be your exact duplicate, because it's not going to happen.
First thing, have respect for one another. I mean, you can say you love someone, but until you're married 45 years, you don't know what love is.
How about 55?
Well, I've known it for 10 years at least.
Oh, okay. I'm certainly glad to hear that.
The second thing is that you treat each other equal. It's a two-way street. It's not just one-sided. I mean, you're going to have problems. I don't care who you are, you're going to have problems. But you've got to work them out. You don't just throw up your hand. These kids, I think today, a lot of them go into marriage thinking, well, if it don't work, I can get a divorce. We went into marriage thinking, well, if it don't work, we'll work it over and make it work.
the first thing you need to find is somebody who's like-minded like you are. And secondly, I would let them know that you have to be patient. Things don't come right now. It's not a microwave marriage.
There you go.
You can't just cook up everything right now. You have to be patient with it. You have to be tolerant of each other. You have to communicate. That's kind of on the list, but the third one on the list. You really have to communicate with each other.
Marriage is exciting. It's a mystery. So I would tell them to go in like it's a new adventure, and let the expectations be created.
Robin kept dragging me to these things that I didn't want to go to, these marriage conferences and stuff like that. And every time I'd go to one, I'd get more out of it than anybody there. And I stopped fighting that. And that became something that it was helping me. And it was helping me love her more. And I finally learned how to love my wife after 17, 18 years of marriage the way I should have loved her all along. I'm thinking, look at all the time I wasted.
If I was talking to the women, I would really encourage them to put your husband before even your children. God up here, then your spouse next, then the kids, then a job, whatever else goes down below. And I think I had it backwards for a long time, and I put my kids first.
There's 4 things you need to learn how to do to be a good husband. That's fetch, tote, pay, and wait. If you can do those 4 things, and you do them well, you will enjoy life. If you don't like doing those things for your spouse, then you're not going to like marriage.
To walk away at that point was never an option to me. You know, I took those marriage vows, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poor. I took those as, that's my commitment, you know, until death do us part. And I feel like we have truly, in our 6 years of marriage, gone through all of those wedding vows to the extent where, you know, maybe many 60-year-olds haven't experienced what that really is all about. But there was never an option, and we both had talked about this before we walked down the aisle, that divorce would not be an option for us, that no matter what, we would stick it out, and that we were committed to each other. And to this day, you know, we still have difficulties and challenges, as any marriage does, but he and I both know that as ugly as it may get, or as bad as it may get, we both know that we have each other forever. And that is something that really gives us strength in our marriage.
Certain people in life want to have an awesome job and make a lot of money and be able to look back and say, you know, have people talk about them that way. And I'm like, I want to have people look at Kevin Johnson like, that guy was a rockin' dad. He was an amazing husband who always kissed his wife, didn't care what people thought, and I don't care. If you laugh at me, I don't care. As long as she thinks, hey, we're solid, I respect you, and I appreciate you, then the world can, in my opinion.
These couple stories have been compiled into a 13-month calendar that you will receive today as a way to inspire you in your relationship throughout the year. The calendars have been made possible through a partnership between the Oklahoma Marriage Initiative, the Oklahoma Department of Human Services, Hobby Lobby, and the Oklahoma Publishing Company. More extensive stories on these special couples will be published in the Oklahoman throughout the year.